From our Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Zahra Syed. Our top story for today. Former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris have agreed to their first presidential debate on September 10th, ending a tense debate over the issue. The debate, hosted by ABC News, will be moderated by David Muir and Lindsay Davis. Trump initially expressed reluctance to participate in the ABC debate, criticizing the network for perceived bias and suggesting the forum be held on Fox News. Despite his earlier stance, Trump now has agreed to debate Harris on ABC. The Democratic National Convention likely will endorse Harris as the nominee by August 22nd. Trump had proposed two additional debates, one on September 4th, potentially on Fox News, and another on September 25th, possibly hosted by NBC. The debate schedule has been a point of contention, with Trump's campaign demanding clarity on Harris's nomination before agreeing to any debate. Harris has confirmed her participation and expressed readiness for additional debates. The agreement concludes a period of public negotiation and setting the stage for a pivotal debate on national television ahead of the November election. Trump, the Republican candidate, debated President Joe Biden once in June. Later, Biden withdrew from the race following a disastrous performance. From 1988 to 2020, presidential debates were organized by the Commission on Presidential Debates, a nonprofit bipartisan group. It was responsible for selecting the time, the place, the moderators, and even the debate format, which has evolved over the years. In 2022, the Republican National Committee withdrew from the commission, citing bias against GOP candidates. Ohio Senator J.D. Vance is facing backlash over his military record following a scathing critique of Minnesota Governor Tim Walz's service. Vance, Donald Trump's running mate, accused Walz, who recently joined Kamala Harris's ticket, of stolen valor and claimed he falsely represented his military service. Vance's remarks refer to Walz's departure from the National Guard in 2005, just before his unit was scheduled for deployment to Iraq. Vance questioned Walz's combat experience and leadership, noting Walz left his unit shortly before their deployment. He did not see combat, but served in various roles, including as a command sergeant major. Vance's own military background includes a 4-year stint with the Marine Corps, during which he worked as a combat correspondent in Iraq, but did not engage in combat. Veterans and critics have highlighted the discrepancy between Vance's and Walz's service. Former Army Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman and other veterans have defended Walz, pointing out his extensive service compared to Vance's role in public affairs. As the vice presidential race heats up, scrutiny over military service continues to shape the political narrative. Navy veteran Jax Persists told the media outlets that Vance served 4 years and spent 6 months in Iraq escorting civilian press and writing stories. Walz served 24 years and retired when he ran for office. A testimony from released Palestinian prisoners shows Israeli authorities are starving them in more than a dozen facilities. Recently released Palestinian prisoners reported Israeli guards told them they would only provide as much food to keep them alive. A former prisoner, Atif Awade, said for 11 prisoners, Israeli authorities served 2 plates of rice. Another former prisoner, Sami Khalil, said they were getting 3 spoons full of rice a day. Palestinian lawyer Sari Houria said he lost 8 kilos during 10 days in an Israeli prison. Israeli forces have launched a new offensive on Khan Yunis, a key city in southern Gaza. The operation, which involved military vehicles, bulldozers, and infantry, targeted around 30 sites after Israel issued fresh evacuation orders to residents. Over the past 24 hours, Israel reported striking 60 targets, killing at least 40 Palestinians. Israeli airstrikes hit 2 schools in Gaza City, sheltering displaced Palestinians, killing 15 and injuring 30. Other strikes on homes in the Nuseirat, Al-Maghazi, and Jabalia refugee camps claimed more civilian lives. The United Nations has reported 205 humanitarian aid workers have been killed in Gaza since October 7th of last year. The United Nations Satellite Center estimates 63% of all structures in Gaza have been damaged or destroyed during the war. The hardest hit areas in recent months have been Rafah and northern Gaza, where Israeli strikes have damaged 15,030 structures. At least 39,699 Palestinians have been killed and 91,722 wounded in Israel's war on Gaza. Israel stands accused of genocide at the International Court of Justice, which ordered it to immediately halt its military operations in the southern city of Rafah. Jewish Voice for Peace staged a peaceful protest in Dallas condemning Capitol Real Estate's sale of occupied land in Israel. The demonstration aimed to raise awareness about the use of Jewish synagogues for controversial land sales and to oppose what they call a violation of Jewish values. The group criticizes these sales amid the ongoing Gaza war, which has resulted in significant Palestinian casualties and displacement. The group argues that such events, which they believe are shielded by religious institutions, perpetuate the illegal appropriation of Palestinian land. Capitol Real Estate's association with these sales and the lack of response from involved parties have fueled further outrage. The group calls for an end to U.S. weapons for Israel and advocates for Palestinians' rights with its slogan, "Not in our name." The World Meteorological Organization has warned unprecedented global heat waves are driven by decades of disinformation from the fossil fuel industry. Investigations by academics, journalists, and lawmakers, as well as ongoing legal battles, have exposed how big oil not only has heated and polluted the planet, but also knew about the devastating impacts of fossil fuels decades ago. The European Union Climate Change Service announced that last month was the second warmest July globally. WMO Secretary General Celeste Salo said for at least 10 countries have recorded daily temperatures of more than 50 degrees Celsius in more than one location. Salo said Death Valley in California registered a record average monthly temperature of 42.5 degrees Celsius, possibly a new record observed for anywhere in the world. Palestinians forced to move again. Details come after the break. Stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Assalamu alaikum everyone and welcome to this Hijabi Life. Today we have the owner of Wal Chic, Marwa Adardiri.
You can speak for your brand or you can have your brand speak for you. And I had my brand speak for me. Have your business be an extension of yourself.
You're supposed to be engaging with your community. You're feeling a need for hijabi women. That has a barakah in it.
I always told myself, if your business is not fulfilling your why, you're not doing it properly. I had diverse models in terms of ethnicity.
You can't fake authenticity. It oozes out of you.
We're not talking delusion here. We're talking dream, plan, vision. You want to be in a position where you can help others.
Every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on Muslim Network TV.
Many Palestinian civilians began to leave east of Khan Yunis and move towards safer areas, carrying their possessions with them. This comes after the Israeli army on Thursday issued new evacuation orders for civilians in the southern Gaza city in preparation for a new offensive in the area. Military spokesman Avichai Adrai called on residents in the towns of Salqa, Al-Qarara, Bani Suhaila, Abasan, Khuzua, Sheikh Nasser, Al-Satr, and Al-Mahata to evacuate immediately towards what he called a humanitarian zone west of Khan Yunis. Adrai claimed Hamas uses these areas for launching rockets towards Israel. Bangladeshi officials have recovered 36 bodies of Rohingya refugees who drowned while fleeing Burma through the border river near Teknaf. 2 boats were capsized late Monday due to high waves and storms. Amongst the deceased were at least 13 women and 15 children. The boats, each overloaded with refugees, were attempting to cross the Naf River as conflicts intensified between military junta and rebel groups. Muhammad Shamsuddin Douza, a senior refugee relief official, expressed concern the death toll could rise as rescue operations continue. The escalating violence in Burma's Rakhine state has driven Rohingya refugees to seek safety in Bangladesh, where more than 1.2 million already have taken refuge. Local community leaders report more than 1,200 people remain stranded at the border, with the ongoing conflict claiming more lives. The Indian government has introduced a bill aiming to overhaul the management of Waqf, or Muslim endowment properties. This proposed legislation seeks to reduce powers and end autonomous status of state waqf boards to manage properties dedicated for religious or charitable purposes under Islamic law. Critics argue this change could undermine the protection of waqf properties, leading to mismanagement and encroachment. The bill also suggests establishing a centralized database for waqf properties. It introduces stricter regulations on endowments, requiring consultations with legal heirs and restricting endowments from new Muslims. Moreover, it proposes increased representation for non-Muslims and women in waqf councils, which has sparked significant backlash from Muslim leaders. Prominent critics, including Asaduddin Owaisi, claim the bill could discriminate against Muslims and violate constitutional rights. Mr. Shamshad, the lawyer, said contemporary India has witnessed various malicious campaigns being undertaken against the very concept of waqf. Supporters, however, argue the bill will improve management and efficiency. Under opposition pressure, the government has agreed to send the bill to a joint parliamentary committee for further reading and scrutiny. According to an estimate, waqf boards control roughly 870,000 properties across 940,000 acres. The estimated value of these properties is around $14.29 billion. In a touching show of solidarity amid turbulent times, Bangladesh's Muslim community stepped up to protect country's Hindu temples and churches. Muslim community members guarded churches in Barishal to protect minorities after the resignation of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. The South Asian country that saw violent protests in July had earlier sought to abolish the quota system for government jobs. Hundreds of people were killed and wounded during the protests, which first called for the abolition of quotas in government jobs and later the resignation of Hasina, who had been in power since 2009. A man in his 30s has been arrested in Manchester, UK, after allegedly chasing a Muslim couple with a hedge trimmer, according to police. The disturbing incident, captured on video and shared widely on social media, shows the man pursuing the couple in a confrontation. Documenting oppression against Muslims group described it as a targeted attack by a far-right extremist. Greater Manchester Police confirmed the suspect was taken into custody on Tuesday night on suspicion of a fray and remains in detention. The arrest comes amid ongoing unrest in the United Kingdom, where far-right rioters have been escalating attacks on Muslims and minorities. The violence has been fueled by misinformation about the identity of the suspect in a recent stabbing case. Authorities have identified the attacker as Axel Ruda Kubana, born to Rwandan parents, but this has done little to deter far-right mobs. As of August 8th, 483 people have been arrested, while 149 charges have been filed in connection with riots in towns and cities across England. In another case, a man was caught on camera hurling Islamophobic slurs and spitting at a Muslim bus driver in London. Documenting oppression against Muslims shared the video on Thursday, describing it as a racist thug abusing a Muslim driver in London. The video shows the man repeatedly yelling "Muslim terrorist" at the bus driver while swearing. He also insisted the bus driver get out of the bus while he was seen splitting and hitting the bus's protective screen. The World Health Organization chief has said 2/3 of Sudanese people are unable to seek medical care due to the ongoing conflict. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said on X, thousands of people are facing famine. He echoed the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs' appeal to the Security Council to help find a peaceful and lasting solution for Sudan's people. Since the conflict began in April 2023, the war between the Sudanese army and the RSF has killed around 18,800 people and displaced nearly 10 million, according to the UN. That's all from our Toronto studios. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. Your support is needed more than ever to continue our mission of providing informative, educational, and inspiring content to Muslims in North America and around the world. Donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum.